Time for the papers at 8:45. And this morning we have writer and columnist Emma Wolfe and author and broadcaster Nikki Hodgson.
Lovely to see you both again. Emma, we're starting with Prince Harry in the Mail.
Yeah, well, you've been hearing about this from Stephanie, but this is Prince Harry, who will be in Britain this week for the Well Child Awards, but apparently he'll be alone and quite lonely as well, if the reports are to be believed. And as Stephanie said, who knows that, you know, we can't know what's going on behind closed doors. But according to the Mail, there are no plans for him to meet with his father, King Charles, no plans for him to meet with his brother, William, and apparently William and Harry haven't spoken since the publication of Spare in January. So, you know, relations very, very frosty there. It is really hard to know what's going on with it.
I mean, if that's true, then whatever happens, they'll never get back to what they were like before.
No. Well, families are difficult things. I think people can rebuild after years and years, but it's not. I don't think it's surprising that William isn't particularly keen to talk to his brother, that his father maybe isn't particularly keen to be cosy and make time.
Well, he wasn't just rude about them, he was particularly rude about their wives.
He was very rude about Camilla, he was very rude about Kate, he was pretty devastating about the entire family. He's repeatedly said, on this kind of worldwide privacy tour that he's on, he's repeatedly said that he wants privacy, that he wants to be left alone, and he can't seem to stay away. He's back and forth like a yo-yo. So, yeah, he will be in Britain, apparently not with Meghan.
But it is very poignant, isn't it? Because family-wise, it is a big week, actually. It's the anniversary of losing his mother, and it's the anniversary of losing his grandmother, and you'd expect a family to unite at those times.
You would expect that, and Harry seems very out on his own at the moment. He doesn't seem happy. He seems... I mean, we've seen the pictures of him at the Beyoncé concert looking...
miserable as sin.
Not enjoying it.
Really
I'm sure
glum.
lots of us would have. But also, you know, and we've had the Netflix documentary, the Invictus Games documentary, and he'll be in Dusseldorf in a couple of weeks.
Is Meghan going to join him there?
I think Meghan will join him.
Oh, of course there is. There'll be cameras and a microphone.
But she doesn't seem keen to come back to the UK at the moment.
No.
She really has avoided Britain at the moment.
But part of the issue with that, so I believe from the papers, is if she came back and they met up with the family, she'd have to curtsy to Kate.
Oh, so that's what she's avoiding. How interesting.
I mean, that would be lovely to see.
Well, she doesn't want to give people that, what's the word? That
picture.
Benefit, yeah. She doesn't give them that picture. I mean, I think what is really sad about the situation is you sort of feel that Harry didn't actually fully consider the consequences almost. Because he's in this double bind, isn't he? You know, if he cuts off ties as being a royal, then he thought in the back of his head that even if he criticised the royal aspect of the family, then the personal, private aspect of the family could continue. And that hasn't
But he didn't just criticise the royal aspect. He told us all of an incident where the two brothers, you know, had a go at each other, and he fell down on the kitchen floor and bumped his head against the dog bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, that isn't
character
royal
assassination stuff, isn't it?
I think he's quite immature. I think some young men are, and I know he's in his, late 30s now, early 40s. I think he's quite immature. I think he was led quite a lot by Meghan, who's very PR savvy and all of that, but now... they're a bit lost.
But he's cut adrift
because if they're not royals, then what are they?
Absolutely.
But if you look at the picture of them at the Beyoncé concert, Meghan and her mother are going mad dancing. He's looking grumpy in the background. That's his family now.
That's his family now. And also, what's their future? You know, if you're not documentary makers, if you're not on Spotify and Netflix doing brilliantly, which we know their projects have pretty much bombed, you know, what do you do? What do Meghan and Harry do now?
Well, I mean, I think the only option for Harry is to live a life out of the media, doing something, doing the work that he cares about, but just not caring about publicity. He has to go completely the opposite way and invest and spend his time with his family and his friends over there and just think about his life outside of, you know, cameras.
But then he'll have to live off Meghan.
Yeah.
What friends and family does he have out there? He's a real homeboy. You know, actually, he wants to be in pubs in Chelsea, like William. You know, that's his kind of background.
Well, maybe ultimately the marriage won't last. Maybe ultimately he will come back.
I think he will come back.
Well, we shall see.
Let's see.
We shall see.
Myself.
Sunday Mirror, Nikki. The MOD has been hit by hackers.
I mean, I sort of am very loath to talk about this because it is very, very disconcerting, but we do need to know what's going on in the world. And it is a story that's in all the papers. It's just that the Mirror's led with it on the front today. So, without freaking anybody out, yeah, the MOD has been targeted by a Russian hacking group called Lockbit. They are a ransomware group, so what they do is, you know, they hack computers and then they demand millions and billions in Bitcoin, and it's maybe the 1,700 attack in the past couple of years. And they go all around the world. So they haven't just targeted us in the UK; they do it everywhere. What is disturbing about this story is, so it's basically saying how they have. They've got detailed evidence from this firm that provides security fences for various MOD properties called Zorn, and they've published details about certain elements of security that don't seem very significant to us, but will allow Russia to build up a picture of exactly what goes on inside our security operations.
Yeah.
Because obviously these are very clever people. You give them a bit of information about some piece of equipment somewhere, then that gives them
like
more,
a
and they can build a
jigsaw,
picture. Yeah, exactly. And we've got Professor Anthony Glees, who's a security expert, giving his opinion, just saying, you know, the slightest bit of information can tell them so much stuff, and we should be definitely concerned about it. He's blaming the fact that Zorn, the security fencing firm that has had the leak, is basically an outsourced business, because this is something we talk a lot about with our security. We've got all these private firms providing it, and how does that affect, you know, defence as a whole? But what I find interesting about this story is that this was actually... This story was actually broken by a tech blog 3 weeks ago when they found out on the hackers' blog that they were preparing to attack us.
Preparing?
So they basically said, we demanded X amount of money from the UK because we're going to hack their defence, and that was published openly, and nothing was done about it. And now the papers are publishing the unfortunate news that it's gone ahead. So what did the government do in that gap? That's what I'm really fascinated by. So they did have a warning about it, and they thought, actually, we're not going to pay the Bitcoin and we're not going to negotiate with them, and we're just going to see what happens. That isn't good enough.
No, it isn't. It isn't. But I don't know how you tackle it, because it's all out of our remit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There has to be a way, and they should have done it. Maybe they did. I don't know. Very depressing.
It is depressing.
Yes.
Is it any good me going to the Body Shop, Emma?
I'm glad, Steve. I'm glad you bring this one up, because I want to talk to you about this. I don't agree with anything gender neutral, really, but the Body Shop, I do agree with this one. The Body Shop have removed their men's section. So there's not going to be, like, body scrubs, specific products for men labelled for men, although some products can still be labelled as appropriate for male grooming or whatever. Yeah. What the Body Shop is saying is everything is for everyone. You know the Body Shop. It's always a sort of... It's usually, you know, darker colours, and it's... And now they're saying everything is for everyone. All our products are non-gender specific, and all of our skincare and all of our body care can be used by anyone. And I think this is quite good, because as a woman, you know, have you heard about the pink premium? Anything that's pink, right? So razors.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The grey ones, the black ones will be like a couple of quid. Well, they're quite expensive,
a bit more than that,
anyway, anything pink, you can literally triple, quadruple the price and say it's a Bic Lady Shave or whatever, and it can be so much more expensive. Same with hair care, shampoos and conditioners. Right. Twice, 3 times the price for women.
But if I were going into Body Shop and I wanted to buy a fragrance for Stephen, I wouldn't know. I'd like to be guided by what they think is a male smell and what they think is a female smell. I might get something you really think, no, that's a woman's smell.
Fragrance is a bit different, and there will be more sort of obviously musky smells.
Well, I don't think that's the thing. I don't think fragrances are different, because it's the whole thing. It's marketing.
Yeah.
Perfume and aftershave are exactly the same thing with different names to make it more appropriate to men.
And more modern perfumers now, everything's unisex. Yeah, whatever you get up, most The thing, though, I mean, the thing is, though, there are some physical, biological differences in chemicals we produce in our bodies and what kind of product we might, you know, use as a result to make us to beautify ourselves. So I am quite intrigued. I totally agree with Emma, but I am quite intrigued about getting rid of the difference.
Well, we'll have to do some samples. A sniff off, yes. Nikki, Emma, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Before we sniff each other, let's have a look at the weather. Yes.